Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Diversity Now. Just before the break, we discussed topics regarding prejudice here on Diversity Now.
Hello, my name is Michelle Jenkins. Before the break, I was asking our guest a question about police reform. In recent current events, there's been a lot of talk of prejudices in the police officers that are attacking young, unarmed black men. Do you believe that there is an inherent prejudice in all these police officers that are under scrutiny, or do you believe that it may just be an ignorance in the understanding of different cultures which may contribute to racial profiling?
There are varying factors associated with what would convince a person to respond or act in a certain way. You can't narrow it down to just one factor. There is some prejudice to some extent, and then there is some ignorance there. And these play a major role in an officer's level of competency on how they will police in a particular environment. If you come from a rural area and you're thrust into a low-income area, that may be somewhat of a culture shock for you. And then if you are not knowledgeable of the culture of the environment that you are called upon to police upon, it can be quite overwhelming and it can be quite frustrating. And so officers on an individual level and as a department at whole have to look at the competencies of each of its officers and provide the kind of training. Now we are required to do diversity training annually. And so that diversity training exposes us to different cultural settings so that we have somewhat of a working base when we're interacting with people of different cultural beliefs.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that there's a diversity training, because we often see officers that say they fear for their life because of someone's skin color. Do you believe that these current events affecting young black males has in any way affected your work as a police officer?
It has caused me to be more proactive in seeking training to broaden my knowledge base. I'm from an inner city, a large city, Brooklyn, New York, and I remember as a child spending time with my grandparents down in the South here in Spotsylvania County, Virginia, which was a culture shock for me. When the lights go off and the sun sets and you start hearing these weird sounds that you're not familiar with, from the city, I know the sound of a train, I know the sound of a fire engine, I know the sound of a police car, but I didn't know the sound of a horse running down the street. I didn't know the sound of a raccoon rustling through the thick of the woods,
I'm from Jessup, Georgia. I can relate to that.
And so that's where the diversity training is very important. And so I kind of take this very personal to be able to provide the best service to the community that I serve by enhancing my knowledge base and exposing myself to ongoing training.
I just had a question as far as Alexis Robinson again. I just had a question as far as taking advantage from a official's perspective. Do you feel like officers tend to take advantage of citizens because of their titles? And if so, why?
There, I'm sure, are instances where that may be the case. I know growing up in New York, the officers took advantage of us. Absolutely. They took much advantage of us because they were the police and we were wrong. We were at fault, I think that still goes on to some extent, where some citizens are victimized. Whether it's intentional or not, I don't know, because you have to look again at it case by case. What was that officer thinking? What was that officer dealing with? What did they think they saw? And then how did they perceive that individual? And that again goes all the way back to how they were reared. What are their realities when they're interacting with people?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I know a lot of the cause for a call for police reform is that there is a problem in the broken system, and that a lot of police officers are going without punishment or non-indictments. Do you believe that judges or a judicial system protects police officers that are often in the wrong?
Do I believe that they protect them that when they are in the wrong? I think what they seek to protect is their livelihood their right to exist, because as a law enforcement official, when you are found wrong of a criminal charge, there is some duty of care that comes into play. And so oftentimes it will not be publicized what the consequences were that that officer now had to face as a result of a proven criminal act.
Right.
So there is some level of protection, just as they would protect a criminal from unjust treatment if it becomes known that they may be being treated wrong. There is some level of protection that is expected to protect the life of that officer.
And do you think that gives police officers a privilege to break the law versus better than citizens, or more so than citizens? And to you, does that describe justice?
No, I don't think it gives them that privilege. I think any individual whose thought process is to initially seek out ways to break the law and not get caught will take advantage of that. I don't think that it's initially set up that way to just protect them and give them an open door.
Like immunity.
Right. I don't think it's designed that way. I think that that's a byproduct of the system itself, because there are flaws within the system. We have to be honest about that.
Yeah.
There are flaws, and people take advantage of those flaws.
Michael, and as far as your flaws, and as far as the idea of flaws within the system is concerned, Michael, how would you say that you ultimately feel about your life, or potentially your children's lives, or your uncles, or your cousins? How do you feel that this police brutality, or the certain turns that police reform is taking, how do you feel like it affects your life?
I feel like it makes me need to be more careful about everything I do, and watch the decisions that I make more closely than other people, just because I feel like I'm a target sometimes. And I was also wondering, how do you make sure that everybody is treated equally within your force, or like the community?
Well, here at the university, which I am proud to be a member of, I started off here as a residence hall director before I joined the police force here. And so one of the things that we have several things in place to ensure the equality and the safety of all of our students. Oftentimes it's not taken advantage of by the university population, one of which is our pirate notification system. Through our pirate notification system, timely warnings are given out to alert the community of potential threats to one's safety. The problem with that, though, is that of the 5,000 plus students that we have registered as attendees of the university, maybe 400 of those are actually registered through that system, so they're left out of the loop, and they don't know that this is in place for them. And then we have, annually, I do safety briefings, and in those safety briefings, I highlight potential safety issues that can impose a threat to one's existence. And so again, you know, if we were to give the statistics, a small percentage of the student body actually attends those briefings to get that information. And then we have something that we've encouraged our students to download on their phone, a Live Safe app. Our Live Safe app empowers the students to be able to report situations that is a potential threat to one's safety, and to do so in a manner that does not disclose their identity. But when I survey our student body, how many have downloaded that app, I would say 1 out of 100 actually may have that app on their phone. And then we have our TipSoft program, which is an online platform that allows, again, for students to be empowered to give us information that we can act upon. Let's be real. We can't be everywhere at the same time, and we can't see everything.
So you would definitely say that resources are a vital key as far as moving forward within police reform is concerned. And I just want to thank you again for joining us here on Diversity Now. And this was an amazing topic. And of course, there will be more to come for you guys. I am Alexis Robinson, and these are
Michael Rogers,
Michelle Jenkins.
And I'm Officer Michael Steward.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.